Are your Disney VHS worth thousands? No. Short answer, you can leave the video now. Wait, you're still here? Okay, let me explain a few things. People collecting things has a long history. People have been collecting things for hundreds, thousands of years. For the last 150 years, people have collected everything from coins and stamps to bottle caps. More recently, things like comic books, video games. But there's a bit of a difference between physical items like coins, which contain precious metals in some cases, which can accrue value, and media. Media is a much harder thing to collect for a couple of reasons. So let's dive into what makes a VHS movie valuable. Collecting anything is about a couple of key points. Scarcity, how many things there are of that item in the marketplace. Demand, how many people want those items. And condition, the condition of the item in question, which can vary widely and so can the price. So a lot of people have, I'm sure, millions of people have seen these articles come across their Facebook, their Twitter, Reddit feeds, things like that, where you see this clickbait article that says your Disney Black Diamond VHS, your copy of The Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast is worth thousands. You're set, you can put your kids through school, you can retire on, $10,000 for, some of these ridiculous claims that I've seen. And these articles, they back up their claims with eBay listings, which have there been people who have tried to get thousands of dollars for their copy of The Little Mermaid? Yes, absolutely. But make no mistake, those people are scammers. You can buy just about any VHS tape. Forget Disney, you can buy just about any VHS tape for $1 or $2 or less if you're lucky enough to find them at a Goodwill or a Value Village or a yard sale or a church bazaar. There are so many places that you can go to find these tapes, and here's how the cycle of collecting works. When something is popular, it's expensive. You probably had to pay $15 or $20 or even $30 for your VHS tapes when you bought them back in the 80s and 90s. But as things move on, those prices decline. As things get older and out of date, the prices decline. When DVDs were released and became popular, VHS movies basically became worthless. People couldn't give them away. They were at thrift stores, pawn shops, everywhere, because with media, as the quality of something gets better, the older quality stuff loses popularity. Of course, makes sense, right? So VHS is not the greatest format for a couple of reasons. Now, a lot of people really love to collect VHS for nostalgia purposes, and I personally love watching a VHS movie on my old tube TV. The clicks and whirs of the VCRs and the rewinding and fast-forwarding, it's also nostalgic to me. And for a lot of collectors out there, that's why they collect these things, because they love to experience things the way they did 15 or 20 or 30 years ago, and that's how collecting works. Things lose popularity. They become more scarce because people throw them out, get rid of them, sell them cheap. Tons and tons of them end up in dumps worldwide. And then nostalgia hits 10, 20, 30 years later, and people start to want to get their hands on those things again. That's where the scarcity comes in. So you take scarcity, you add demand, and prices rise. However, when you're talking about something like Disney Black Diamond or any kind of Disney VHS tapes, like these that you see here, these are some of the most common tapes in the marketplace. You can find Disney VHS tapes just about anywhere, from your local thrift store to Salvation Army, yard sales. These are everywhere. These are not rare tapes. The tapes that actually become expensive and sought after are generally things like B-movie, campy horror movies, things that were only released in very small numbers in the first place, things that may have only had a few thousand copies instead of tens of millions of copies like these. So, are there some Disney tapes that are worth money? Yes, absolutely. You may have heard about the classic Little Mermaid cover that has the phallic symbol, the penis drawn into the castle in the background of the movie cover. Is that worth a little bit more money? If it's in good condition, that can be worth $10 or $15 depending on the market, depending on the condition. If it was brand new sealed, like I've got a couple of sealed VHS tapes here, and that leads into the condition. If you have anything that is brand new, sealed, as you can see this is, it's going to be worth a little bit more than something that is obviously beat up, banged up, broken, cracked, whatever. So condition plays a very important role in it too. But even brand new and sealed, I still pick these up at Value Village for $1. You really have to know what you're doing if you want to make money on collectibles. So, as I said at the beginning of the video, short answer, your Disney VHS are not worth thousands. They're not worth much of anything at all. However, there are some Disney tapes, and we'll talk about that, but there are some Disney tapes that are worth a little bit more, like this stack over here. These are early 80s clamshells. They're a little bit different. It's a harder clamshell, and the tape inside looks a little bit different. The label's a little bit different. These tapes, like these are worth a little bit more. You could expect in the collectibles marketplace to pay anywhere from $5 to $20 a piece for most of these early white clamshell Disney tapes. But again, that's not thousands. These ones are much more scarce. There were fewer of them printed because VHS was new at the time. These are from the early 80s. And, they're more scarce. They're harder to find. They're especially harder to find in any kind of good condition. As you can see, these plastic clamshells, they tend to break and crack. So finding these in any kind of close to mint condition is a real challenge, and you can expect to spend a little bit more. As I say, $5, $10, $15, $20 a tape for some of the more desirable ones. But this is how collectibles work, and with media, as I said, when DVDs came out, VHS became less popular. When Blu-rays came out, DVDs became less popular. We're pretty much at the point now where you can't give away DVDs. You can barely sell a Blu-ray for $2 or $3. Why? Because services like Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon Prime have come along to offer us the best quality version of their product with no fuss, no muss. You don't have to have wires and a DVD player hooked up to your TV. You don't need a second remote. You don't need to get up off the couch and go get that, thing off the shelf and take the tape out and put it in the machine. You just click your Fire Stick or your Roku box and you watch your show, and that's the end of it. So figuring out what is collectible and what is not is a little bit more of a difficult process. You can't just walk into a... This is kind of a meme that we see in our VHS collecting community. There's several groups that I'm a member of on Facebook, and we see this day after day after day. Somebody will have read one of these articles, and they come in thinking, oh boy, I'm going to join up to a collector's group and sell all of my tapes and make thousands of dollars and go on a vacation or something, and they come in and they have their hopes dashed and they're trolled, and people make fun of them because they haven't done their homework. They've just watched one clickbaity article on Twitter or something, and they come in thinking that they're going to make hundreds or thousands of dollars. And the thing is, with any kind of collectible, like I said, scarcity, demand, condition. So you look at something like video games, for example. This video game, Xenoblade Chronicles, on the Nintendo Wii, was not so long ago, only 5 or 6 months ago, maybe less than a year ago, this was worth upwards of $50 to $75, because this was a fairly rare game, and it was a fairly special game that was brought to the Nintendo Wii late in its life cycle. There wasn't as many copies of this available, and it became rather expensive and hard to find. However, within the last 6 months here, Nintendo has re-released this game in an updated HD format called Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch. And as soon as this game released, this game dropped. It's the same game, but this one looks better. It's a newer version. This one is now worth $35 or $40 instead of $75. And that's the way media works. You've really got to do your homework and figure out the things that are truly collectible, not only scarce, but in some ways things that are you can't replace in current day. So there are TV shows, for example, here in Canada, there are several TV shows made in Canada which you cannot find by any means. They don't exist on DVD, or they only existed, 20 years ago on DVD or VHS for a very short period of time and were never released again. They're not on broadcast TV. They're not on any streaming service. So if you find something like that you can't get your hands on, for example, the VHS set of, what was that show called? 5 Mile Creek, Disney's 5 Mile Creek. There was a VHS set with about 25 odd tapes, I think, in the set, released in the late 80s or early 90s of 5 Mile Creek. That show is not available, cannot be found anywhere now, because there apparently is some licensing issues between one of the major actors, Nicole Kidman, and the company that produced the show, and she wants more royalties than for her image to be, re-released on TV or on videos or whatever. She wants more royalties than the movie company or the production company or whoever owns the rights to that show. They can't afford to pay her what she wants to have her image rebroadcast again. So that show is basically lost to the annals of time. So if you can find 5 Mile Creek VHS tapes, those are going to be worth something someday, because that is literally the only way that you can get your hands on that content. So think that way when you're looking to sell your old stuff, and before you enter into a collectibles market. VHS collecting is a new market, so right now VHS tapes are pretty easy to find, even the rare ones, and it's kind of a long game. VHS doesn't have the history as a collectibles market that, say, comic books or video games do. So we don't really have established prices for a lot of things. Some of the more rare stuff, some of the more high-profile stuff, like some of the, trendy horror tapes that are going around, those do have a bit of an established price. You may pay $50 or $100 or a couple $100 for a particularly rare tape. But in general, you can find just about anything you're looking for. If you have patience and go from store to store to store, you'll eventually find what you're looking for at a pretty reasonable price. Some other things, as far as Disney is concerned, if you're looking for things that are worth a little bit more money, something like Betamax tapes. These are a lot more rare. These Disney tapes are probably worth, again, in the $10 to $15 to $20 range, depending on your currency and where you live and what the supply of these is like. But these particular limited gold edition tapes were, as far as I know, rental exclusives. They were not available for purchase at Target or Sears or whatever. These were rental exclusive tapes, and so they're quite a bit more rare, especially being on Betamax, which is a failed format. So these are quite a bit more rare than, XYZ Disney VHS. You look at, this is a masterpiece collection, so this is a reprint of The Little Mermaid, a later series reprint in the 90s. This is absolutely worthless. I have a few of these because I'm a Disney fan, but I would never pay somebody more than, $1 or $2 a piece for any of these, depending on condition. If it was brand new sealed, like one of these, I might pay a little bit more. But anyways, guys, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Just take your time, do a little bit of research before you make yourself look like an idiot. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Collecting stuff is a really cool hobby, and selling to collectors can be profitable, but you have to do your research and know what it is that you've got before you try to sell it for hundreds or thousands of dollars. Just because you do a quick eBay search and you see something up there for a couple of $100s or a couple of $1,000 does not mean that's what it's worth. Worth is established by what somebody is willing to pay. And somebody having an eBay listing up there that may have been up there for 6 months with no bids but they're asking $2,000, does not mean that's what it's worth. If you click over on eBay to filter by sold listings, and you look at that same movie or comic book in terms of how many times that same or similar item has sold, you'll see that the sold listings, the prices are very different. And even on eBay, where understandably this stuff's going to be a little bit more expensive because people have to make it worth their while to go out and get this stuff and sell it to you and ship it and all of that kind of stuff. But even on eBay, you shouldn't be paying more than $3 or $4 or $5 for any of these tapes. So just take that into consideration, guys. There is a marketplace for this stuff, and the longer you hold on to it, the more scarce it will become and the more valuable it will become within reason. However, something that is mass-produced to the level of Disney tapes, which have literally tens of millions of copies on some of the more popular titles, these things are never going to be that $1,000 cash cow that you think you heard somewhere on Twitter or Reddit or whatever. So, if you're looking to get into collecting, collect what you love to collect. If you're looking to sell to collectors, do your research. Anyways, guys, thanks for stopping by. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe because I will be putting up at least a couple of videos a week, and I've always got something interesting to say. Hit that little bell notification icon so that you'll be notified every time I put up a new video. And hey, guys, stay classy.